Oh well, let me take a video of my place and my lousy Mets and see how they're doing. So they are winning 2-0 as of now. So let's see. I'm going to my garage, my Mets garage, my car. My house, which looks pretty good, pretty neat. This is my neighbor's house. The entrance to my house. Right now going into my garage, the Mets shrine, I call it. They're playing the Phillies, are winning 2-0 in the 4th inning, so let's hope they win this game. So from that on, you figured out all this stuff I got here, okay? I'm going to start over here on the left.
And by the way, that's the guy from Wilfred. That's not Elijah Wood. But that's a new show on FX. Read a review that said it's quirky, you think? But Elijah Wood is a guy who looks at a dog and sees him as a human dressed as a dog while the rest of the world just sees a dog. Here's Utley with a pop-up in the left.
This video should be on YouTube pretty soon.
So happy to see Reyes pop up after taking a spill at the end of his play.
Speaking of spills, watch Reyes tripping over Turner. That could have been a very, very costly injury. Turner inadvertently tripping Reyes. And Jose ends up near the stands, but fortunately got his balance in time to prevent an injury.
Here's the end of it. And able to stop himself before he slammed into that wall.
Yep.
So it's a double. A 2-0 game as Utley put it in the perfect spot. And the batter is Polanco. They grounded into a double play his first time up. Ball one inside.
There's simply some spots on the field that no one can get to and no one plays. That was one of those little quirky plays down the left field line. Not enough hang time and nobody caught it.
That's me
Down
right
by
there.
the tarp.
Yeah, tarp double.
That's inside from Belfry, 2-0. We were talking about Wilfred.
This is my Mets shrine. I have everything in here.
On FX. Polanco has hit 3 home runs. He's driven in 28. Hitting 320 at the start of the night. And the count now 2-1. Belfry's coming off a year in which he had a career high in wins, career low ERA, innings pitched went over 200, was 15-9. But he has got front end of a rotation type stuff. The 2-1. Now 2-2.
More than any other major league hitter, Polanco unafraid to have 2 strikes on him. For his career, he leads all major leaguers with a 273 average with 2 strikes.
See that bottom line, the average in Major League Baseball is 188. And that's ball 3.
I kind of laugh at that front-end rotation stuff. You know, when any pitcher is out there as a starter, he's a #1 starter. You know, they number them like effectiveness. If you're a #5 starter, you don't have to be as effective as a #1 guy. Not true.
That's out of play. But you have to build your rotation around something.
Right, of course.
You caught some #1s in your time.
Oh boy.
I mean, there are #1s, and then there are those guys.
I caught a few #5s too. I think
we don't hear about those anymore.
No, you don't.
3 balls, 2 strikes on Polanco. And a little pop-up, easy for the out. That's Nick Evans.
That was a good pitch, because that's the best time to jam, particularly a guy like Polanco, to come inside with 2 strikes. That's the best place for him.
That's where you would have called for it from either Steve Carlton or Bob Gibson.
No, I don't know about that. Call for a lot of pitches, but with 2 strikes, that's the best time to jam someone, particularly a guy who handles the bat as well as Polanco.
You know, I saw a smile creep on your face when I bring up those 2 names and call in for pitches, but I know something that's been on your radar, not just because of what happened this week, but with regard to what happened in your career, how this game has evolved, our collisions at home playing with catchers, and I don't want to get through this game without getting your opinion on what happened with Buster Posey, last year's NL Rookie of the Year.
Well, I think the rules should be changed. We can talk about it a little more, but I do think that the rules should be changed, and that baseball should protect catchers like football protects quarterbacks. And you can say, well, a quarterback in football is much more important than a catcher in baseball. I'm not so sure about that.
1-1 strike on Ryan Howard, runner at second, 1 out.
Maybe a little more important, but the value of a catcher to a baseball team, and we're seeing a lot of catchers and a lot of parents telling their catchers, their sons, not to be catchers. That a father saying that I would love for you to be a Major League Baseball player, but I don't want you to catch. And what happened to Buster Posey this week was an example of what we're talking about. And I tell you, I'm a grandfather now, and I have a grandson, and he's left-handed, and I'm thankful of that, because I don't want him to catch.
Well, there's so much more about this.
Right.
Here's a 2-1, and that's foul, 2-2. How would you legislate against what happened to Buster Posey during the week in that extra inning game?
You know, Ken and I were talking about it before the game, Joe, and we talked to Tony La Russa about 15 months ago, a game that you didn't do. We were in St. Louis, and you had another assignment at the time, and we were in La Russa's office. Tony's on that competitive committee. And I suggested to Tony, I said, what if a guy who comes, spears a catcher with his head, leads with his head like a defensive lineman would lead into a quarterback? What if any time a runner does that, he's automatically ejected, the run doesn't count, and he's fine? Tony said, I would buy that. He said, I'll think about bringing that up. They have a conference call every week.
Here's another 2-2. Ryan Howard takes strike 3, 2 out.
Good pitch by Pelfrey for the second out. And last year's All-Star game, I didn't tell you this, but I'm telling you now, I talked to Mike Sosha about that same thing. Now, Mike didn't agree with that. He thinks catching and blocking the plate, of course, he was one of the best ever at that. He thinks that's the last vestige of courage. Perhaps that's overstating it a bit. That's paraphrasing it from my standpoint as Ibanez is up. But Mike did not agree with it, and Mike is on that same committee. I say put it to a vote. It's not necessarily that you're looking for a suspension, a fine, or anything like that. I'm not obviously advocating are admonishing, punishing a runner like that, because all the runner did in San Francisco the other night was he did what the rules allowed him to do. He went into Buster Posey, but he went inside. And when you go inside, you're forgetting about the plate and you're worrying about the catcher. That, to me, is where you draw the line from a catcher's standpoint.
Counts 0-2 on Ibanez. Pelfrey trying to get around that leadoff loop double by Ubley. Ball one. Here's the play with Buster Posey at the plate, and Florida's Scott Cousins coming around and drilling Buster Posey. Buster with a fractured leg and torn ligaments in his left ankle.
So you can see at least part of the plate from where Cousins was coming in. And he came inside the line. And again, that's where you draw the line. And, no pun intended, but when you come inside and in effect spear a catcher, I think the run shouldn't count. I think the player should be ejected. And by doing that, you call attention to that play at home plate. And I'm sure, I don't know how many base runners would agree with that. In fact, there were some quotes from a terrific guy, one of the great guys in the game, Mark Teixeira, who goes hard into catchers, and he said a catcher is sitting there with all that armor on. Well, that's not armor. That really doesn't help you. The only things that help you from sliding runners into you are shin guards. That protector, you can forget about that protector. It's not going to help you at all.
Counts 2-2 on Ibanez. He suffered through an 0-for-35 stretch, and since then he's been hot.
But the rules say that it's okay for a guy like Cousins to go in. I think you ought to change the rule.
That is a fair ball. And Philadelphia's on the board, down 2-1, and Ibanez has a 2-out RBI double.
Oh well.
And that's not the crowd booing Pelfrey.
End of the video.
Giving a Raul chant as this one hugs the line and is just fair.
Just fair, going over the bag, landing.